All right, welcome to the final reaction where you've listened to all of these Batman reviews, and now you've come to the promised land to listen to Nick here and
Gabe, the Night Watchman.
and he's still the Night Watchman, even here at
Always.
TFR. We saw the Batman last night. Full disclosure, Gabe and I are huge DC fans. We have been waiting for the rise of Detective Comics and talk about Detective Comics. Oh, we got a detective film today that we're going to talk about, The Batman. We're going to start off with non-spoiler. You can see the chapters below, and then we're going to get into some spoiler territory, talking about different things about the film. Please join the conversation by commenting below on each thing that you want to. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We've been around YouTube for a little while, but this is a newer channel, so we appreciate the love and helping us grow this channel as we continue to create more content for you. But Gabe, let's go ahead and not waste any time. Why don't you start, my friend, with your opening remarks, your opening statement, your non-spoiler feelings of the Batman?
All right, my non-spoiler feelings are really simple. It was honestly not what I expected, but better than I expected. If that makes sense, okay?
Oh,
And it you know a long time ago when they announced that Pattinson was going to be back, so I was like, I lost my mind, cousin. I'm like, what? The dude from Twilight, the sparkly dude, and you had to talk me off the ledge. Like, nah, he's been in a lot of indie films. He's a good actor.
Come back through the window, Gabe. Come back. I mean? Don't go.
And two films really sold it for me, and I was like, okay, yeah. And it was Tenet, and I'm sorry, I love what's Denzel's kid's name? I forget his name. Yeah, John David Washington. But listen, Pat's killed it. All right, he outacted everybody in that movie. He was a monster.
Amazing.
And in Lighthouse, bro, to go up against William Dafoe and still hold the dude can act. And you saw that here, bro. This film was not what I expected. As far as it being a comic book film, it's not really a comic book film. And what I mean by that is this is more like what I grew up reading, the graphic novels, you know what I mean? The Batman novels, the Dark Knight, stuff like that, where it's super long, super, compelling. It's very dramatic. And even if you had taken, this could have been a 7. All right, it gave me. People talked about 7. You know what? What also all the little things with Denzel Washington, like that kind of drama, crime, mystery. It had that feeling with crazy acting, bro. Because everybody held it down. Robert Pattinson. I was gonna say Pattinson. Robert Pattinson held it down. All right, the Riddler, Paul Dano held it down. Finally, we got another a great Catwoman. Because Halle Berry killed that. Oh my gosh, Halle Berry killed Catwoman for me. But
Anne Hathaway wasn't too bad. Anne Hathaway wasn't too bad.
Right. But Zoe Kravitz absolutely killed it. Even Colin Farrell as Penguin, bro. Everybody was on point. The film was great. The story was great, compelling. 3-hour film really didn't bother me. We review a lot of foreign films, Indian films, so we usually are used to the longer runtime. I think that for me, it's a great novel as far as a film, but I can tell you right now, it's probably not going to be as received as well unless you're a true hardcore Batman fan or DC fan, because it's not an action film. And that's the first thing I got to say. Guys, it's not an action film. It's not a Marvel kid film. It's not a DC Aquaman film where you can see it was all bright and colorful for the kids. That ain't this, cousin. You know what I mean? It's dark, it's brooding, and I absolutely loved it. Right now, I'm struggling, Nick. I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, it's up there, 1 and 2. It's battling with The Dark Knight for my favorite Batman film of all time.
Wow. So,
yeah.
My thoughts, there's a lot of similarity there with my thoughts on this film. I love this movie from the word go as far as when the movie started. Am I biased? Absolutely. Do I love DC? Absolutely. Am I waiting for a DC? This was an amazing DC film. This, in my opinion, and I'm not always recency biased. I always make fun of Gabe for being recency biased. I'm kind of like too stubborn sometimes. I drive him crazy because I'm just like on that hill forever. But I think it easily can be said that, except for maybe the Snyder Cut, I don't know, this is the best DCEU film that we have. Not DC film all time, but DCEU film, because it's an actual amazing film. I would venture to say not entertainment, but film. And we're getting I'm getting too ahead of myself, but it's just film goes. I want to know which Marvel films you're comparing to this one as far as film elements. But I'm going a little too far. I lost some of the audience. Come on back. I'll be a little more grounded here. Robert Pattinson was fantastic. His acting is phenomenal. I'm going to get into some specific parts later on. Zoe Kravitz, like you said, she made it her own. She wasn't doing the Michelle Pfeiffer. She wasn't doing the Anne Hathaway. She definitely wasn't doing the Halle Berry. I mean, I don't know if anyone has. She was doing her own thing, and she had the physicality. She had the acting chops. She had the grace. She had the beauty. She had all of that. Paul Dano, absolutely fantastic. I don't know if I love his voice more than his acting, and I don't want to get into anything else because it's going to be spoiler territory. This is a film that is 3 hours long, and everyone's going to have their opinion. I do say you feel the runtime. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be a little negative there. You feel it at about hour 2:35, not going to lie. Before that, I didn't feel it. I was loving it. If I had popcorn, I was eating it the entire time. I went with the nachos this time. But you had all the acting was phenomenal. The journey that we followed Batman step by step was absolutely phenomenal. He's side by side by Gordon as the cops are like, "Are you crazy, Gordon?" I mean, those spoilers. Sorry. But he's there detectiving, if that's a word, the entire time. And I loved all of it. There's conversations, there's action moments, there's development. It's all in here, and it makes for a real film that happens to be a comic book character that we all know and love. And Pattinson put his own stamp on it, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Those are our overall thoughts. We're going to dive into spoilers right now. We're going to go piece by piece. We're going to try not to talk forever, but if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear any more, throw us a like, hit subscribe, leave, come back when you watch it. If you don't care, stick around because we're jumping into spoilers. And Gabe, I want to ask you this question first.
Sure.
Okay? Tell me about Robert Pattinson as the Batman. You said you were super nervous. You said you liked him. But now let's dive a little deeper in what you felt about his portrayal.
I think that what he got right about Batman is what specifically this Batman, right? Year two. All right. Some of the comparisons, like there's not a lot of difference between his portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne. It's not supposed to be. This is still that Batman that's not trying to play off like he's the playboy and try to hide a secret identity and all that. This is a Batman that makes mistakes. This is the Batman that's still learning to be Batman. And the anger, the sheer pain, you can see the entire time, the agony. And I love that. I love the fact that he's so stoic, right? One of the things that, if I got a knock, and you know I love Ben Affleck, right, as far as Batman's concerned, but he was a little too jokey at times, and you even brought that up to me. Batman's stoic, cousin. You know what I'm saying? That Batman don't budge, don't film. Sometimes saying nothing, he says a lot more than anything. Those eyes, you know what I mean? And that's what he got right, where there was one scene in the film where he just looks at and everybody's like, "Oh wow," you're like, "I'm backing up," you know what I mean? Just that look, that menacing look, and I think it was able to capture that you know, this is a Batman that still has not been able to separate Bruce Wayne from Batman, and really Batman is who he is. That's his identity. Bruce Wayne eventually just becomes a character he puts on a charade to throw everybody off. I think that's what he got done right as well. I also think people remember the Nolan films as being very realistic, right? If you go back, and I did it because I had to go watch The Dark Knight because it's my favorite Batman film. When you want to talk about what's more grounded, what's more realistic, when you compare the two, even going down from the different bat suits to the Batmobiles to this one is way more. You got to see him putting on the makeup, right? Where Bale just sometimes appears with it on. When did he put it on? You know what I mean? Because you can see the eye black underneath or whatnot. And just little things like that, little details were so awesome to me, Nick, that they sold everything as far as like, yeah, everything, even the batarang that comes off of the chest, right? You know, everybody thought it was like the guns from the parents or whatever that killed him. That was the theory or whatnot. Was our theory. But no, that's his batarang, right? It's
Well, I think
very
it's
practical.
made from the hilts of those guns. I think it's
I mean,
welded
it might be.
together.
It might be, but it's his batarang, right? And we saw him use it. It was actually practical. There wasn't anything that he had that wasn't practical. And dude, again, it's. I think that sometimes saying very little, you say more. And it was his acting with his mannerisms that made you feel like, oh wow, yeah, this dude is Batman. I'm still gushing about it. It was amazing.
He looks great with the cowl, 100%. And I would argue that he was a little different as Bruce Wayne, a little bit. I understand the conversations being had out there, and I love the conversations being had about it. But I completely agree with you because this guy is damaged. This guy mentions about he's not just an allude, he mentions how he's just, or it's Alfred that mentions how obsessed he is. Like, you've got to go out and do stuff. He's like, I don't care about that. I can care less if there's a shareholders meeting. I don't care about my money. I've got to figure this out. I put so much time, so much skin in the game. I've gotten closer. I've got to figure this out. He does not care. I mean, they even mentioned about how he's more reclusive than Falcone. I love the whole thing at the very beginning where it said year 2 on the journal. I thought that was awesome. Right. I loved his narration. His voice, his Bruce Wayne voice, his Batman voice isn't much different. It's a little different, but man, it's such an improvement from Christian Bale. Sorry. Such an improvement. I didn't have a big problem with Ben Affleck's Batman voice, but still it was a little more like, but this guy's Batman voice was perfect. I don't think you have to change it dramatically, especially since your Bruce Wayne is a recluse. But the thing that I absolutely loved was the acting moments. There's a moment in the first 10, 15 minutes of the film where he's in the Batcave and he's looking at some stuff, and Alfred's giving him a hard time, and he talks to Alfred about his motivations, and I can't remember exactly the conversation, but I was getting chills just at the emotion. He had already transformed into that character with all that pain and with all that hurt and what was going on. And I think some of it was about the boy, right, of the mayor's son that had to this or that. That acting moment, that conversation for me said, okay, this guy is this character. I'm on your side. Let's move forward. There's moments where he makes mistakes, right? And we're getting more into the plot, but he was able to play all the different parts. You were able to read his emotions throughout it. And I felt like he was supported with the music that was behind him, with the vehicles, with the gadgets he had, with the things that he was practicality. He seemed very comfortable in the suit, like he had been doing it for a year or so. I'm not sure how many iterations of suit at that point in the story it was. But I love the narration. I love the poetic writing in his narration, especially at the beginning of the film more than at the end of the film with his narration. And as Batman, I feel like he completely nailed it. I really do. I thought he was great.
No, and I should have mentioned the narration. Like, that's how most of the novels are told from that narrator standpoint. So that was awesome because, again, you get to hear his innermost thoughts, and that was so cool. Like you said, some of the scenes, one of my favorite parts about the narration right in the very beginning, when they're talking about, spoiler alert, how the bat signal is actually a warning, right, to criminals. Because he's like, I can't be everywhere
so awesome.
at one place. But that's the point. They don't know where I'm at, and I could be in that shadow. You can see like the
three different places. And I'm guessing, okay, where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at?
Right. That was so cool. And again, for the little bit of action we did get, because I know a lot of complaints is it's not an action film, right? It's not supposed to be action every 20, 30 minutes or whatnot. Matter of fact, I think we only saw him go into action maybe 3-4 times tops in the film. But when he did, bro, that first opening scene was just raw. And you got to see that this is still an angry Batman, and a Batman that might take you down, and a more experienced Batman, once I take you down and incapacitate you, I'm moving on. No, this guy's going. I want to make you feel pain. I want to get my vengeance, and I want to take it out on you. And you can see him do that, and it was, dude, that was so cool.
And that first fight scene where he's there with the clown makeup guys or with the skulls, whatever they're wearing, you can see he's getting hit left and right, and he's going into it. You can see him make. It's not like he's like, I'm sure he gets all of them in a few shots, and they all got knocked down, right? He's getting hit. He's getting in there. He's getting back in there. I thought that action sequence was really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. What I was also going to say is I think that the world building of Gotham in itself and all the rogues that we got in this film was awesome, because that's also been one of the best part about the Batman comics, and is the rogues gallery, right? Having the Riddler, having spoiler alert at the end, that little introduction of the Joker. We don't get a lot, but even Catwoman's backstory, which for those of you that don't know, she is Falcone's daughter in the comics. Okay, it's Selena Kyle is like a love child of his or whatnot. We find that out later on, but as well as getting to see the other criminals like Penguin, being a gangster coming up under Falcon, like this whole cesspool that is Gotham, and how no matter that's why Batman is so depressed and so desperate, because wherever he turns, bro, it's hard, it's everywhere, it's bad, it's all bad, everybody's corrupt, you know what I mean? And that's what they got so right. Like, he's battling for the city, for the soul of this city that honestly probably doesn't deserve to be saved, man. I cannot. The storytelling is what's so amazing, and I didn't think anybody would be able to top Christopher Nolan, Nick, as far as the writing is concerned. That's why I still had The Dark Knight as my favorite Batman film. But I don't know, man. The writing here was absolutely.
Well, and let's talk about Matt Reeves a little bit. He co-wrote it with Peter Craig. He directed it, obviously, and he produced it with Dylan Clark. So he's got his hands in all the pots. And I looked at his career, directing, writing, producing. I can't remember if there was any other time, maybe one other time, where he was all three. But he was really invested. And I read an article where they had closed down for the pandemic a few times. They reopened, and Pats got it the next day and had to close down again. Luckily, it wasn't too long. This guy said that he dressed up in a homemade hazmat suit, basically. He had everything covered. He had scuba goggles on his face, and he directed the rest of the film that way. And the reason why is he had said, if I go down, like if I get sick or if I pass away, heaven forbid, or something, this or that, then this movie's not going to be finished. He's that invested in it. And I thought that he would mention how one of their dialect coach got coronavirus and passed away at the age of 76. And he said, I feel like he contracted it on the set. Like, that's scary stuff. And he's going in there. He's so passionate about that. He was so infused in this film. But I agree with, I think it was Dan Murrell who said that he doesn't feel like it was a Matt Reeves film. Like, he had his stamp on it, like Tim Burton or Christopher Nolan. But he did such a great job bringing us a top quality product where he co-wrote and he produced. And I felt like he did an amazing job. I'm one of the few, I guess, who really likes Rise of the Planet of the Apes as much as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And I wasn't a huge fan of War of the Planet of the Apes, and that might have been the other film that he did all three on. He definitely wrote and directed it. And so I'm in the minority there, where War of the Planet of the Apes was not my favorite of the Planet of the Apes film. But this guy, he brought it. I mean, he came in and he delivered an amazing product. Like you said, he was able to take Gotham and make it its own from the different iterations, whether it was Christopher Nolan and the architecture, or whether it was Tim Burton and the darkness. We got to see the corruption. And you mentioned to me earlier that there was a lot of Nolan with the corruption and the mob and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But he still made it his own. And I love how he focused on the villain, the Riddler, in this. The Riddler got a lot of screen time. We have Falcone. We have the Penguin. And I liked how they were done. I don't know how I feel about John Turturro as Falcone, because I see him as the guy from the Transformers. And I love this actor. And he's been in a bunch of stuff. I know he's been in a bunch of stuff spanning to the 80s and the 90s. I get that he's not only the goofball from Transformers, but I can't get that out of my head when I see him playing a mob boss.
No, he's a dude from the Zohan. He's what was his name? Zotin or whatever.
Well, he was the butler from Big Daddy too, with the frostbite. Or no, he was like, "Here, hit my foot." But he did a good job. Don't get me wrong. Penguin did much better. But I love how this was also Riddler's movie. The voice, and I know that's not Paul Dano's voice. There's no way when he had the suit on, he had more of an edgy voice to it. But he allowed this character to take center stage along with the Batman. And I loved that. It wasn't something that he was there for half of the movie. He was defeated. He was there for the majority of the film. And Paul Dano, I felt like this guy, he was great in Man, he was great in the Beach Boys movie, but he was great in Prisoners, right? Because he's not, you don't look at him and say, oh, I'm terrified of this guy. He's a regular, everyday looking schmo, right? But this guy's got acting chops. This guy's got the eyes. All you see are the eyes in the suit. We see it above my head right there. His eyes were going crazy at certain scenes. His voice, tell no lies. I mean, just like his cadence and everything. Right. I thought Paul Dano was great. And a big spoiler, we're already in the spoiler talk. My favorite scene, I think, of Paul Dano is when he's going boom, boom, when all the different things are going up and he's in the Arkham Asylum and he's just loving life. That and maybe the conversation he has with the Batman. I've heard a lot of people make fun of that. They thought it was too wordy. I thought that was beautiful, that exchange back and forth, because in his mind, him and the Batman did this together. They were partners in this. And man, can you believe that everyone fell for their trap? And Batman's just like, what are you talking about? I don't even know who you are. He was so great as the Riddler.
I'm going to one-up you. He had the best line of the film, okay, when he goes, oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were. You know what I mean? It was awesome.
Jacked up.
He's like, I don't have the brawn. I couldn't have gotten Falcone out of that out of that building. You did that for me. And that's when it dawned on Bruce Wayne or Batman. Oh, wow. He's right. You know what I mean? Like, here's what was beautiful about this. The way they wrote it, and they really get Batman. Bro, there is the what's it called? One Bad Day, right? One Bad Day, which is the Joker, right? But you're one bad day away from being the Joker, right? That's what created the Joker. Supposedly, his pregnant wife ended up getting, killed by the mob, and then he was a failed comedian, and he just happens to be at this robbery because he's got to get this money, and that's when Batman happens to come in. He gets, dropped in the bad asset, but basically, everybody's one bad day from breaking, and Batman is always one bad day from breaking. People don't realize how close he is to actually being a criminal. He is a criminal. He's a vigilante. And that's why, to me, up until this point, my favorite iteration of Batman was Ben Affleck, because they get the fact that, especially in BBS, okay, Batman's dark, bro, all right, where he's branding criminals or whatever, and he knows that brand means when you go to prison, you're done, cousin. You know what I mean? Like, that's how ruthless Batman gets, especially after Robin dies and all that in the comics. So they got that. And finally, I think that they showed in this film how his behavior and mirrors so much of the criminals, right? Of the people that he's going against. And to take it a step further, how he almost helps inspire and create them. You know what I mean, dude? Like, oh, dude, it's chills. The writing is amazing. Listen, if you don't understand this film, that's okay. But you got to be a true Batman fan and a fan of not just the comic books, but of the graphic novels in order to get it.
Yeah, the writing, I absolutely love the writing. I thought the pacing, except until you get about 2 hours, 35 minutes, but the pacing was beautiful. Michael Giacchino, I hope I say your name right. This guy as a score composer was phenomenal. It did not make the movie a better movie than it would have been, but it enhances the movie, if that makes sense.
Right.
It was coincided with it, and it made moments feel better. And we hear, the brooding Batman theme, right, from him. But if you listen to his score, the Batman theme also has a lot of hope to it. It has a lot of positivity. And I know Gabe's going to mention that later on, but I love that in the music. One of my favorite scenes, and it's so stupid, is at the end when him and Catwoman are riding their motorcycles side by side out of the cemetery, wherever they're at, and you have that score going. I don't know what. It just made it for a more beautiful moment before they separate. But there's so many moments in this film where the music's there, and one in particular is it's playing, and then all of a sudden it stops right when we get introduced to the Batmobile, and those headlights go on. I got chills when I saw in the theater. I'm like, oh wow! And it's just like you knew what was going to come, and you had that amazing action sequence with the Penguin right after that. But that introduction, because we don't see it before then, that introduction was so amazing the way Matt Reeves just put that in there. And now we're ready to see Batman as the driver. And that was a fantastic action sequence. The Penguin's got some driving skills too. I got you. And we see in the trailer, but his eyes where he's like, oh man. I mean, that was a great sequence, but that introduction of the Batmobile, I love the Batmobile in this. I'm still going to say my favorite all time. Sorry, I still love the Michael Keaton version. I get it may not be grounded. I get shields, all this kind of stuff. But I love that Batmobile. But this was, I never loved the one from Christopher Nolan. So this is easily my second favorite Batmobile. And it's just a regular car that he works on. And if you get in the background, apparently he's a gearhead, and he enhanced that car himself to be able to do what he wanted to do.
Well, some fun stuff about that scene. The Penguin gets away in a Maserati. Well, in the graphic novels, which are more grounded, Batman mentions that the Batmobile is actually just a souped up Maserati, that he's done some other body work to make it more intimidating. But it's not this super plane where or whatever. And again, that's why I like the graphic novels so much more. But going back to this film, Nick, one of the things that, and you already touched on, if I have a complaint, is that Batman, especially in year 2 Batman, is not already understanding that it's too dark and that, oh, he has to be more than just vengeance. He has to be hope. No, Batman is vengeance for a long time, cousin. That's why, again, the Batman that we saw in BBS is the Batman, the grizzled vet that's been there for 20 years. And he even tells Alfred, 20 years in Gotham, Alfred, fighting crime. All right. How many good guys are still left? You know what I'm saying? How many of us have fallen? And he's talking about, Robin who fell, and you see the whole suit there. That's why he's so dark. That's why he's so distressing. That's why he's so angry. And at the end of this one, you're telling me he already realized the flaws in his way? No! If you're Batman, you're never supposed to see the flaws in the way. The flaws in your way. The way you look at things is, bottom line, it's got to be an absolute. It's got to be an absolute, period. There is no room for compromise. The Judas Project, I believe it's called. It was a comic book, and then they made it into a animated film where basically Batman has contingency plans to take out the whole Justice League. The bad guys end up getting it and using it against the Justice League. At the end of the film, everybody's mad at Batman because they found out it was his plans or whatever. And he said, if you guys don't have a contingency plan for me, I'm not sure I want to be in the Justice League. That's Batman, bro. That's Batman. And he's just like, Superman's like, look, I'm trying to calm everybody down and talk them, into keeping you in the league. And he straight said, if you guys don't have a contingency plan for me, then I'm not sure I want to be part of the Justice League. That's who he is, bro. Why are you trying to give me this hope at the end of this film? I don't understand it. To me, end it dark. Yes, the Penguin won. Like you said, I don't care if I'm in Arkham Asylum. I chose to be here. I came down into this cafeteria so you could come catch me. I could accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I got this city bending to my knee. Like, yes, it goes bad for a long time. Again, 20 years in Gotham, as I mentioned earlier. And really, what had changed? A lot of foes went to Arkham, escaped. A lot of Batman's allies, from Robin to Commissioner Gordon's daughter, ends up Oracle. She ends up going in a wheelchair because they end up paralyzing her. Like, yo, it's dark. It continues to be dark.
Yeah,
stop giving me the sunshine at the end.
I wasn't bothered. I had some complaints about this film for sure, but I wasn't bothered by that so much. And you got to remember, this is a film adaptation. Okay, don't think for a second that Matt Reeves does not have number 2 planned, assuming they make it. And it's all about the money it makes. If this makes money, which it should. But if this has legs, it has to have that legs. It'll make that 100 million domestic the first weekend, something like that. It's got to have legs. And by the time we record this, it's still Friday night. It's opening night. But don't think that it's not going to be something similar to a Dark Knight, but a little different, where he's trying to be that hero. He's trying to be that Superman character, and it screws him over, right? Someone takes advantage, and it ends up people getting hurt of it. And then he's like, well, forget that. I'm not doing that either. It's got to be the road, and he's not at the year 2. He's not going to have it all figured out and be this messiah for Gotham no, it's going to be this or that. So if he has that realization, if it's that vengeance, there's got to be a reason for it. I'm trying to think, what are some other things that I really loved? There's so many. I loved Alfred. I know people are saying he's not in this. When he's in this, it's very powerful. Where he's in the hospital after he's recovering, I'm so glad he didn't die. Such a powerful conversation between him and even Bruce Wayne. That was one thing I didn't like about the the Nolan films is Bruce Wayne is so obsessed with getting his guy that he's willing just to write off my cocaine, right? He's willing to write off Alfred completely and, oh, well, sorry, I got stuff to do, until they see each other at the very end. I never liked that aspect. Bruce Wayne here at least still cares about Alfred. Alfred even says, you needed a father. I did the best I could. I showed you how to fight this or that. And he's like, what are you talking about? You were fantastic. I liked their chemistry there. We talked about Catwoman. We talked about Riddler. I liked the story. I liked everything, but some things I did not like. I did not like the second half of the third act. For Wonder Woman, that's a great film, but the entire third act is boring for me, and it's kind of weird. For me, it's after the Riddler is captured, after that conversation with the Riddler. For me, even though it was cool to see boom and all that kind of stuff, for me, it got kind of not boring, but just kind of different, like a different pace, a different type of movie when it came to the flooding and they were in the arena. And there's a whole scene where like the people are behind all that rubble, right? And he goes down there and it seems like he pushes it with ease. And then they come like all that kind of, and then he's on the rooftop and he's saving people. And like, I just thought that was weird for a different way than what you thought it was weird for. I thought that whole situation was kind of weird. I thought that there was, in the investigation part, there was a few twists and turns that we really didn't need to go. You could have shaved off 20 minutes easily. And I'm never going to tell a creator how long their thing can be. Our reviews are always way too long, but it's natural and it's where we take the conversations. I felt like there was just a little too much added. And usually a director, they have like 4 or 5 hours worth of film, and they got to cut it down to 2 hours, 20 minutes. And that's hard to do. It seems like this guy had like 3.5 hours of film and cut it down 30 minutes. I know you're saying 4, but even from 4 to 3, he only cut out an hour. Sometimes they're cutting out half the movie to get it in that runtime. And that's my main complaint right there. I felt like some things were a little too convenient with the Riddler putting out that puzzle. It takes Batman and Gordon a few days to solve it. And as soon as they do, he's there on the other end of the computer. He's there in the window. He's there doing this. And I thought, wow, he's really waiting a long time for this or that. I thought that, Batman and Gordon going back to that bat signal over and I don't know, it's stupid. I feel like them going over and over back to it was just asking for trouble. Someone's going to find them there. And we see Catwoman there eventually, but she's not there to set up a trap for them. I just felt like, can we have different destinations that you go to? I did like the bat signal because Christopher Nolan was trying to make it really grounded, but I can never make out the bat signal in the Christopher Nolan one. This one is very grounded bat signal, and you can make it out 100%. I thought it was a really good touch. Commissioner Gordon was absolutely fantastic. He is so amazing in this. Jeffrey Wright, I believe is the actor's name, who played him, did a phenomenal job. I loved how they had each other's back. I love how Batman's like, do you trust anyone on your squad? He's like, dude, I only trust you. I love their relationship. I love the detective part of it. There was just some things I didn't love, but honestly, I can see this movie being remembered 10 years from now in the same vein as the Nolan films, as great film that has to do with Batman. And those are my negatives. Do you have any other negatives about this movie?
Just the fact that maybe at the end, and I don't know, maybe that was just, to me, I think it was perfect because it should be just dark. I'm sorry. Batman film has to be dark. DC in general is darker.
Do you have a heart at all?
But I'm just saying, to me, same problem. The tone was different. Everything was great. And even if it had ended with him stopping the Riddler guys from, killing everybody, even though the place is all flooded or whatever, he doesn't got to be the guy out there rescuing people from, the flood. And he doesn't have to be the guy, putting people into the helicopter. That's not what Batman does, bro. I was like, huh? It was just weird, man. It was just weird. And I think that maybe that's the different, they're trying to show an arc on him, that he can't just be pure vengeance, that he has to also, they even said they got to mean hope and, save people or whatnot. But I don't know. It was a little tough for me. I will say that the acting saved it so much more. And I did not feel, and this is, as much as I love the Nolan films, bro, maybe it's just me, but I feel like in the Nolan films, especially in my favorite Nolan film, The Dark Knight. Bro, I'm sorry, Christian Bale got outacted. He got crushed, bro. Crushed. Not just Heath Ledger. You know, I'm sorry.
would have got outacted by Heath Ledger in that movie. Stop it.
Bro, I get that, bro, but I just feel like they overshadow him. Even Two-Face, all right? What was his name? Andy Eckhart or whatever? He was amazing as Two-Face.
Aaron
When
Eckhart.
Aaron Eckhart, when the guy pulls out the gun and him in court, he grabs it. He said, "Oh, Chinese pollen caller. Next time you want to kill a public official, buy American." Like,
but that's the line he's getting. What was the line that Batman got? I'm not wearing hockey pants. I mean, you got to think about the writing, right?
I got you. So for me, this is the first time that I'm like, in a while, like, yo, my man's holding up court. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Paul Dano was good, but nah, Pattinson was just captivating every time he was on the screen, and I just didn't feel that way with my other favorite Batman film, The Dark Knight. But I mean, those are my thoughts, man. I love this film. I hope we get more of these, where you got more grounded stories. You know what it also reminded me, Nick? My final thought, it reminded me a lot of because it's such a long film, of the Daredevil Marvel Netflix series, where it's more grounded, more down to earth. If you have not seen that, you gotta go see it. You need more of that. I think Marvel needs some of that.
It's coming to Disney Plus, so they'll be able to see it. They haven't seen it yet.
I can't wait.
The whole slew of them. Let me finish on this. I'm assuming that your grade's gonna high. Real quick, let's do our grades. I'm giving this. I gotta give it an A+. I really do. I gotta give it an A+. It's already in the running for my top movie of the year. The Joker was a few years ago, so we're gonna have another Batman franchise. Are you agreeing it's A+?
A+, cousin. A+. Bro, I'm just telling you, I'm literally right now, if it's this or Dark Knight, and people are gonna say recency bias.
You are so crazy.
And right now, I'm gonna get everybody mad at me. My favorite Batman or interpretation is still Ben Affleck. But as far as films are concerned, I'm sorry. Justice League, even the Snyder Cut, can't compare to the Dark Knight. So it's either the Dark Knight or the Batman. Right now, they're just neck and neck, bro.
You are so crazy.
Bro,
what's your third favorite? What's your third favorite Batman? If those two are neck and neck, what's number 3?
Yes. Oh man, number 3 for me. You know what, dude? It's so tough because I want to say it's got to be the original. It's got to be the Michael Keaton, the first Batman. You brought up a good point. Even though I love Ben Affleck, he never got his own film. So it's hard to say that even BBS, you know what I mean? Which I love, and I'm one of the few that stands on that film. Like, listen, this is Batman, the dark Batman. This is what he is. He's jaded, doesn't trust anybody, including Superman. But it's not his own film. So if it's just that, then it's got to be the original. You got the little hat right there from the original. Was it 1989 Batman film? But as far as like who plays Batman, you know how I feel about my boy Ben. You know what I'm saying? Batfleck, baby, Batfleck.
So for me, Dark Knight is still my favorite Batman film, and it's not really close. It's by a mile. That's one of the best films in all time. Period. Probably, in my opinion, I know you're going to kill me on this one. Probably my favorite comic book film of all time, and I like some of the old movies too. So I mean, for me, it's not really close. But this would be my second favorite. I'm not gonna lie. Recency bias, whatever you want to call it. This is my second. I love this film. I can watch it over and over. It's my kind of film, 100%. Number 3, I'm going to surprise a few people, and it's because of the acting. It's because of the characters in it. I'm going to go with Batman Returns. I get it's a lesser product than the Batman. I get that. The Batman Batman 1989 is a better overall product. But I just love Selena Kyle. I love Penguin. Oswald Cobblepot, played by Danny DeVito, is amazing in that film. I like Michael Keaton's second turn as Batman in that. And I like Dark Knight Rises a lot. But for me, it's Batman Returns maybe. But man, that just sounds so blasphemous to say. As far as favorite Batman of all time, this is really tough for me because I have a special place in my heart for Michael Keaton. Seeing how tall of a guy he is, and I know that sounds messed up, but I'm a short guy myself. As he's not being a very tall guy, not being a very, massive guy, he played the part large and terrifying. Especially in that suit. He has that look on his face. And even when he's got the suit and he's talking with the Joker, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I mean, he is a psychopath, right? And he does a great job. I think he still, because he was able to do it twice, he's coming back in the Flashpoint. He still may be my favorite Batman, which sounds so crazy. But Pattinson might be number two. I got a lot of love for Christian Bale, but that voice, that Batman voice is just
come on, the voice crushed it. The
single
voice, and not just
time. But he had the physicality.
He did have the physicality, and again, so did Ben Affleck. And you know what? To be fair, man, so did Robert Pattinson. He didn't fill out like again a Bale did in that first one, or even Ben Affleck. But at one point when he's taking off his shirt and you see how wide his back is or whatnot, dude. He put on a little bit of.
And supposedly, according to the pre-novel, he was going for speed and agility, not so much bulk, right? Which would make a lot of sense.
Right. No, for sure. It makes sense. But dude, honestly, I think that this is what DC has to do. Think about their most successful movies outside of Aquaman, right? Let's forget about Aquaman for a minute, because it was successful. People were excited about Jason Momoa, but it's been Joker, right? The most success. What did it make? Like $1 billion, bro? And I guarantee you the Batman's going to make some dough, bro. All right? Like Justice League was a letdown. You and I were upset when it was. And we're not talking about the
DC can't get anything else right besides Batman and now Aquaman. I mean, they can't get anything else right.
And Wonder Woman 1980. The first Wonder Woman was good. 1987. That thing bombed, cousin.
How dare you speak that name? How dare you?
Listen, how dare you? It's that or Black Widow. Can I get a little Eternals, maybe?
I don't think it's close.
That's how bad.
No. Eternals.
Can I get a little Eternals, maybe?
No. Wonder Woman 1984 poops on Eternals, but we just lost a lot of fans right there. I don't like that film. But I feel like I got everything I wanted to get out in this review. It's a fantastic film. If you guys have not seen it and you're still listening, thank you so much. Go check it out. If you have seen it, please let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you felt. Let us know what problems you had. Let us know if you think it's a horrible film and we're just crazy. It's just our opinion of how we felt. We're always going to be honest with you. Don't forget to check out what else we're doing here on the Final Reaction in the future. Let us know what you want us to do. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And with all that being said, until next time.
Justice. I should have gone with
vengeance.
I should have gone with vengeance. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what to do. Let me do it again. Vengeance.
But remember, he's not vengeance anymore.